The Condor Trilogy represents the pinnacle of Yong's literary achievement. 3 interconnected novels spanning over a century of martial arts history, populated by hundreds of warriors, heroes, and villains. But behind every legendary fighter stands a faction, a sect, an organization built on ancient traditions, guarded secrets, and unbreakable codes of loyalty.
From the Beggar's Gang, the largest martial arts organization in all of the Jianghu, to the hidden chambers of the ancient Tomb Sect, these factions shape the destinies of Guojing, Yangguo, and Jianghu across 3 generations. This is every major faction in the Condor Trilogy, their origins, their power, and their role in the Jianghu world. Literally, Jianghu means rivers and lakes, but its meaning runs much deeper. Jianghu is a network of warriors, monks, pirates, island lords, sect leaders, and everyone living outside the imperial system. They have their own hierarchy, their own conflicts, and legendary figures whose names are known for 3 generations. And Yong successfully built the most complex and richest Jianghu ecosystem in the history of Wuxia literature, the Condor Trilogy. Written by Yong, this trilogy encompasses 3 novels connected by a single thread: family, legacy, and the eternal question of what it means to be a true hero. These are the novels: Legend of the Condor Heroes, the era of the 5 greats, an era where the power of the Jianghu was still relatively balanced among extraordinary individuals. Return of the Condor Heroes, 1 generation later. The world begins to darken. The Mongols become more aggressive. The Jianghu begins to transform from a martial arts community into an ideological battlefield. Heaven Sword and Dragon Saber, about a century later. Sects are no longer just martial arts schools. They are factions in a war for independence. In this video, we dissect all the sects and factions from the 3 eras, from the most famous to the often forgotten. And at the end, we answer the question that always sparks debate. Actually, who is the strongest? Let's go. The first era, the legend of the Condor Heroes, the Great 5 and the rise of legacies. In this era, the power of the Jianghu is measured by one standard: the 5 greats. 5 individuals considered to surpass all other warriors of their time. Their names turned into titles based on cardinal directions: Eastern Heretic, Western Venom, Southern Emperor, Northern Beggar, Central Divine. Each one of them is the pinnacle of a martial arts style, and the sects or institutions they lead, those are the primary powers of this era. Quanzhen Sect, the orthodox leader. The Quanzhen Sect is a real sect founded by Yong, who held the title of Central Divine. Quanzhen is based on Mount Zhongnan and strictly adheres to Taoist philosophy. Its basic principle, internal strength, not physical violence, is the peak of martial arts. Their signature move is the Big Dipper formation, or 7-star formation. It's not an individual move, it's a cooperative formation, where 7 senior disciples move in unison, complementing each other, creating a collective strength that far exceeds their individual abilities. One Quanzhen member might lose against a top-tier master, but 7 in formation, that's a different story. Yong himself was the only one who managed to defeat the other 4 greats, but he died young due to overexhausting his energy. Universally, Yong is recognized as the greatest martial artist of his generation, the ultimate champion who defeated the Eastern Heretic, the Western Venom, the Southern Emperor, and the Northern Beggar in the legendary duel at Mount Hua. The Beggar's Gang, the People's Army. If Quanzhen is a sect with a fixed headquarters and neat hierarchy, the Beggar's Gang is the opposite, and that's exactly what makes them powerful. The Beggar's Gang is the largest organization in the Jianghu by membership. They don't have a single headquarters. They are everywhere, in every city, every province, every corner of the empire. Their information network is the best in the entire Jianghu. Founded centuries before the events in Legend of the Condor Heroes, this gang recruits its members from the forgotten and the poor, beggars, wanderers, and the outcasts living at the bottom of Chinese society. Their hierarchy system is unique. A member's rank is determined by the number of pouches they carry. 1 pouch, ordinary member. 9 pouches, the most senior leaders. It's a system based on loyalty and contribution.
not lineage. The two main techniques of the Beggar's Gang: 18 dragon subduing palms, a series of powerful attacks inspired by the movements of a dragon, and the dog-beating staff technique, a staff technique exclusively held by the gang leader as a symbol of authority. This knowledge is passed down exclusively to the next leader. No other member may learn it. No outsider may inherit it. Interestingly, the 18 dragon subduing palms originally had 28 moves, but some were lost over time, leaving only 18. Their leader during this era is Hong Qigong, the Northern Beggar, one of the five greats. A contradictory character, obsessed with good food, yet his moves are deadly. When injured, he handed over leadership to Huang Rong, the daughter of Huang Yaoxi, the Eastern heretic. Under Huang Rong's leadership, the Beggar's Gang became a major force in resisting the Mongol invasion. In the next era, before dying on Mount Hua, he taught his skills to Yang Guo.
Dali Kingdom, the Southern Emperor. This is a unique faction because it combines two things that rarely coexist: royal power and deep spirituality. The Dali Kingdom isn't just a martial arts sect, it's an actual kingdom located in part of Yunnan Province, China. But its king, Duanji Sing, is also a five greats level martial arts master with the title Southern Emperor. Signature move, one yang finger. It sounds simple, an attack with one finger. But in the hands of a master like Duanji Sing, that one finger can pierce defenses, block an opponent's meridians, or damage internal organs. The Dali Kingdom only has 4 disciples. Uniquely, they are former high-ranking kingdom officials. There's a former prime minister, a naval admiral, a war general, and the king's personal bodyguard. However, at the height of his power, he chose to leave the throne and become a monk with the title Reverend Yi Deng. At the end of the story, he accepted one more disciple, the former leader of the Iron Palm Gang, whom we will discuss separately later. In the next era, he also unofficially taught internal energy techniques to Yang Guo to neutralize the love flower poison. The philosophy of the Dali Kingdom reflects a major theme of the trilogy. Ultimate power is not for ruling, but for letting go of power. Peach Blossom Island, the eccentric genius, Huang Yaoxi is the Eastern heretic who refused to be governed by conventional norms. Huang Yaoxi is a multi-talented genius. Not just a martial arts expert, he is also an expert in strategy, formations, astronomy, and music. He designed the island himself as a living labyrinth. It's almost impossible for an uninvited guest to leave alive. Even Zhou Botong, Huang Changyang's junior, was trapped on the island for 15 years. His martial arts techniques are very unique, such as Divine Flicking Finger, a technique for firing internal energy through a flick of the finger to paralyze nerve points or an opponent's weapon from a distance. Jade Sea Wave Melody, a mental attack through flute music that is beautiful yet deadly, capable of disrupting the listener's concentration, emotions, and internal energy. Jade Flute Sword Technique, an elegant sword style using a jade flute as a weapon to strike the opponent's acupuncture points with high precision and artistic movements. Peach Blossom Island is not a formal sect with many disciples. In this era, he only has 6 main disciples, all of whom use the surname Feng. Due to the betrayal of 2 of his disciples, Huang Yaoxi, in his anger, broke the legs of all his other disciples and expelled them from Peach Blossom Island. However, in his old age, Huang Yaoxi deeply regretted this impulsive action. Despite being harshly expelled, all his disciples remained fiercely loyal and never leaked the secrets of Peach Blossom Island's martial arts. They spent their lives with one hope: to be forgiven and accepted back as Huang Yaoxi's disciples. In addition to his 6 disciples, Huang Yaoxi also passed his knowledge to his daughter and son-in-law, Huang Rong and Guo Jing. In the next era, he took 1 female disciple and an idiot girl, the daughter of his disciple. And, unofficially, he also taught some of his skills to Yang Guo. White Camel Villa, the Western Venom. Ao Feng, the Western Venom, is perhaps the most disturbing antagonist of the first era. Not just because he is evil, but because his ambition is total and his methods for achieving his goals know no bounds. White Camel Villa is based in the remote Western mountains. Their specialty is poison in various forms that will make you shudder. Ao Feng's own main technique, Toad Kung Fu. Toad Kung Fu mimics a toad, The skin seems to harden, external energy bounces off, and attacks that manage to pierce the defense are sent back with multiplied force. This technique makes Aoyang Feng almost impenetrable by conventional means. But the most tragic arc, Aoyang Feng is obsessed with the 9-yin manual. He finally gets the manual, but a version manipulated by Huang Rong. He practiced techniques from that fake manual for years, and it slowly corrupted his mind.
At the end of the story, Aoyang Feng goes mad, but his skills actually reach a level that normal people cannot comprehend, the greatest paradox in this trilogy. Uniquely, Aoyang Feng only accepts one disciple, Aoyang Qi, who is his nephew, but actually his biological son. However, due to the cruel actions of Yang Kong, who was obsessed with becoming the disciple of the Western Venom, he killed Aoyang Qi so that he could become Aoyang Feng's only disciple. The Iron Palm Gang is the only major faction that can be compared to the Beggar's Gang in terms of paramilitary organization, but with a very different approach. While the Beggar's Gang relies on information networks and flexibility, the Iron Palm Gang relies on physical strength. Their core training, repeatedly striking their palms into hot sand every day for years until their palms harden like iron and can shatter stones with a single blow. Based in the southern region, the leader in this era, Chu Qianren, who ironically has a twin brother, Chu Qianzhang, who is much more of a coward. At the end of the story, Chu Qianren repents for his crimes and becomes a monk under Reverend Yi Deng. The Iron Palm Gang does not appear significantly in the second and third eras, a reflection of the fate of factions that depend on physical strength without a larger ideological vision. So, where is Shaolin? Before we close the first era, there is one question that might have crossed your minds. Shaolin is the largest and most respected martial arts institution in China. Why don't they appear at all in First Era, the Legend of the Condor Heroes? First, narratively, Jin Yong indeed chose not to include Shaolin as an active force in the First Era. In this era, the stage is held by the Five Greats, and Shaolin has no representation there. Wang Chongyang of Quanzhen is the center of the Jianghu, not Shaolin. Second, in-universe, Shaolin in this era is very inward-looking. They were closing themselves off from the outside world due to an uprising by a kitchen servant who turned out to have extraordinary strength and was able to defeat the Shaolin elders. The irony? Inside the Shaolin library lies a manual that will change the entire Jianghu a generation later, the 9 Yang Manual. This manual was hidden between the lines of the Lankavatara Sutra, unknown to anyone, including the monks who guarded it. Shaolin was not absent from Jianghu history. They were just waiting. And when they finally appeared at the end of the Second Era, their impact subsequently changed the Jianghu for the next century. The Second Era, the return of the Condor Heroes. A generation has passed. The Five Greats are no longer in their original formation. Wang Chongyang has long been dead. Aoyang Feng, mad but having reached an unexpected level, he died at the peak of Mount Hua at the same time as Hong Qigong. Duanzi Seng has become a full monk. Huang Yaoshi is still around, but has aged. And in the north, the Mongols are no longer just a threat. They have become a war machine, ready to swallow anything in their path. The Jianghu has changed. New factions have emerged, more exclusive, more mysterious, more isolated. This era is not about showing off power. This era is about hidden power. Ancient Tomb Sect, the Hermits. Beneath Mount Zhongnan, right next to the Quanzhen Sect headquarters, there is another world that is completely separate, the Ancient Tomb Sect. Founded by Lin Chaoying, the former lover of Wang Chongyang, her genius was equal to, and according to some sources, surpassed Wang Chongyang's. This sect was born out of heartbreak. Lin Chaoying and Wang Chongyang were rivals, as well as lovers. However, their relationship never fully materialized. Their martial arts were specifically developed as a counter to Quanzhen's moves. Their main knowledge? Jade Maiden Heart Sutra for internal energy and extreme Qinggong, lightness skill, abilities. Their movements leave almost no trace. Their weapons? Silver needles that can be launched with precision from a distance. Members? Only women, They closed themselves off and stayed away from the Jianghu, and also from men, whom they considered liars and must be avoided. The most iconic figure, Xiaolong Nu, the little dragon maiden, the auntie who became the teacher and main character of this era. Cold, perfectly trained, almost as if she had no emotions, until Yong arrived. Yong, the first male disciple unofficially accepted, eventually became an extension of the ancient tomb's knowledge in an unexpected way, combining the Jade Maiden Heart Sutra with knowledge from various other masters, plus strength developed from training with the giant condor for 16 years.
Quanzhen Sect in decline. Quanzhen still exists, but it's not the same Quanzhen. After the 7 immortals of Quanzhen, Wang Chongyang's direct disciples, aged, no third-generation disciple had strength equal to top-tier experts like Yang or Guojing.
The current generation of disciples is very weak, and the conflict with the ancient Tomb Sect, which shares the same mountain but lives in a different world, drains their energy. Jin Yong wrote this intentionally, to illustrate that even the sturdiest foundations can decay if the next generation is not strong enough to inherit not just the knowledge, but the spirit.
Beggar's gang continued resistance. Led by Huang Rong, the daughter of Huang Yaoxi, who married Guojing, they remained the largest civilian resistance force against the Mongols. But things are starting to change. The leaders after Huang Rong, Lo Yo Zhao, and then Ye Lu Qi do not have the same charisma or strength. Beggar sect are still important, but the seeds of decline have already started here.
Shaolin Temple, the sleeping giant awakens. Shaolin in the Second Era finally appears, and its appearance changes everything. Not through war or open confrontation, but through one person who didn't even know what he was carrying. His name is Zhuo Yuan.
Zhu Yuan was the guardian of the Shaolin library. His job was to care for and memorize scriptures. For years, he memorized and practiced principles from Alankavatra Sutra until his internal energy developed to be extraordinarily strong. He was unaware that between the lines of that Buddhist scripture, something else was hidden, the 9 Yang Manual, a martial arts manual written as a counter to the 9 Yin Manual, which had been the source of chaos in the First Era and drove Western venom mad. When the Nanyang Manual was stolen from the Shaolin Library by Mongol experts Yin Keshi and Xiao Shangzi, Zhuo Yuan pursued them with his disciple, Zhang Junbao. They managed to defeat the thieves with the help of Yang Guo, but the manual was not found. Yin Keshi, before dying, managed to leave a clue about the manual's location with a Kunlun warrior named Ho Zhu Dao to be conveyed to the monk Zhuo Yuan. But Ho Zhu Dao misheard, and the location of the manual became a mystery that puzzled the Jianghu for nearly a century. Yu Yuan, who was considered to have committed a grave mistake by unofficially accepting a disciple, Zhang Junbao, fled from Shaolin. He eventually became exhausted and was dying, after running and draining all his energy to save Zhang Junbao and also Guo Xiang, Guojing's daughter, from the pursuit of Shaolin monks. And in those final moments, he recited the entire content of the 9 Yang Manual that he had memorized, while dying. 3 people heard it. First, Zhang Junbao, who heard the most. He had already studied directly under Zhou Yuan before, so he had the deepest context. The version he captured was the purest and closest to the original. Second, Guo Xiang, who had the strongest memory. The daughter of Guojing and Huang Rong was present because she had helped Zhou Yuan and Zhang Junbao escape from the Shaolin monks. Wuxia, a senior Shaolin monk, head of the Arhat Hall. Wuxia arrived late. He wasn't with them from the start and heard the final part of Zhu Yuan's recitation. He captured the least in terms of quantity, but Wuxia was the most highly skilled among the 3. This Zhang Junbao, also known as Zhang Sanfeng, later founded the Wudong sect. From this Wudong 9 Yang, the foundation of Taiji Quan would later be built. If Zhang Junbao or Zhang Sanfeng founded Wudong, Guo Xiang founded the Yimei sect. The Yimei 9 Yang skill version born from her knowledge is the longest among the 3. While Wuze integrated the fragments of the 9 Yang manual with the depth of existing Shaolin knowledge, and the result
The Shaolin 9-Yang skill became the most powerful, though the shortest.
3 people, 3 different versions, 3 different sects that would be born from the moment of death of a library monk, Zhou Yuan. And the original Nanyang manual? It remained lost for nearly a century, hidden inside the belly of a white ape, until Zhang Wuji found it by accident in the Third Era. This is one of Jin Yong's most brilliant narrative constructions. A single moment of death produced 3 major martial arts lineages at once: Wudong, Eimei, and Shaolin, each contributing to the Third Era Jianghu ecosystem.
Heartless Valley, the isolated community that lives in total isolation from the Jianghu. This is one of the strangest and most disturbing factions in the entire trilogy. Heartless Valley is a community that lives in total isolation from the Jianghu. Specialization, fishing net weapons modified for close combat, and more dangerously, the love flower, a poisonous flower that, if inhaled, causes emotional dependence on the first person encountered afterward. The effect is not a beautiful love. It is a chemical manipulation that strips a person of their ability to make rational decisions. More cruel than any deadly poison, because the victim is still alive but has lost their autonomy. Heartless Valley is an example of how power in the Jianghu does not always take the form of physical violence. Psychological control can be just as or even more effective. And because of the poison of the love flower from Passionless Valley, Yang Guo and Xiaolong Nu were separated for 16 years. The Mongol Empire's martial experts, the foreign threat. This is not a sect. This is an existential threat. The Mongols brought something the Jianghu had never faced before. Martial arts experts from outside the Central Plains, with completely different systems and philosophies. They didn't play by Jianghu rules, because they didn't know those rules. The most powerful figure from the Mongol side in this era is the Golden Wheel Monk, a master from Tibet who mastered the Dragon Elephant Prajna Gong, an internal skill that made him almost physically untouchable, providing extraordinary strength like that of dragons and elephants. Added to this are unique Golden Wheel weapons in the form of 5 metal wheels, each made of gold, silver, copper, iron, and lead. Beside him are Shao Shengzi, who specializes in poison, the physically brutal Nemo Xing, the secret weapons expert, and the most cunning Yin Ke Shi, and also Ma Guangzuo, who is special because of his pure physical strength. But the greatest impact of the Mongol presence was not individual combat, it was structural. For the first time in Jianghu history, factions that had been feuding were forced to sit at the same table and think about a common enemy. This is the blueprint for an alliance that would be repeated on a much larger scale in the Third Era. The Jianghu was no longer just a martial arts ecosystem, it was transforming into an ideological battlefield. All right, let's pause here for a moment. We've discussed 2 eras, from the 5 greats who defined the face of the Jianghu in the First Era, to the Second Era, where masters began to retreat, new sects emerged from hidden places, and the Mongols started transforming the Jianghu from a martial arts community into something far more serious. And at the end of the Second Era, we witnessed 3 moments that would change everything. A dying Zhu Yuan reciting the 9-Yang manual for the last time. 3 people heard it, and from those 3 new martial arts lineages were born that would dominate the next era. In Part 2, we dive into the Third Era, Heaven Sword and Dragon Saber, an era where the Jianghu can no longer pretend to be neutral, an era where sects must choose, stay silent or stand and fight. We will discuss the 6 great sects, a revolutionary organization that has been slandered by everyone, and 2 weapons that hold the entire legacy of the First Era within their blades. And we will answer the question that has been hanging since the beginning of this video. Who is the strongest? Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in Part 2.